Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a little disassembly and maintenance on this little guy right here. This is the Kizer Rogue. And I want to thank my buddies Frankie and Bud over at the Budshot IV channel for sending this knife along here. Very interesting knife. It checks a lot of the boxes for me. I love a Warncliffe. This is a nice little knife, and so I'm looking forward to getting it apart, getting it all tuned up and oiled. Actually, though, I have a confession to make. I have already done this. I took this guy apart actually on the first day I got it because it was running a little slow, and I wanted to just make sure and give myself an opportunity to make sure everything's on there and just check out the washes. Sometimes I'll do just an impromptu cleaning here and there, makes things a little easier, because filming the actual one takes a little more time, a little more effort. I can just knock out a knife in, 5 minutes or so if I'm doing it on my own, but I want to take my dear sweet time for my viewers, explain things and whatnot. So it's not as dirty as it could be otherwise. Although you can see there's been some additional wear even since I cleaned this guy out. So let's go ahead and take it apart real quick. Alrighty. Did I really just drop the pivot? Yes, I sure did. Wherefore out thou, pivot? Come on, you little bugger. There you are. Oy, oy, oy. The other knife I could disassemble this evening is an IKBS knife. Given that I've already dropped parts for 2 out of the 3 knives I would take apart tonight, I think I'm going to go ahead and call that one off. Because with IKBS, that ends in tears. Alrighty. Somebody turned up the gravity pretty substantially here. No, that does not imply that I am on a space station. Although that would be really neat, actually. That could be a fun job, being the knife guy on a space station. Although I actually don't know whether there would be a great deal of need for a knife guy on a given space station, because practically speaking, I don't know, what are you cutting? I imagine there's not that much cardboard to break down. And, mostly you want things not to get cut, like spacesuits, things like that. But presumably they, if they, I don't know, you'd have a space EDC, so, I don't know. Well, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but, by God, I went there, so I appreciate very much his support in this process. So, cleaning off these washers here, we can see that this is a knife that is running on phosphor bronze washers, which is fine, beautiful thing. I do like the occasional thumb stud knife on bearings, but this makes it a little bit more of a robust sort of action. You're going to have a harder time doing anything wrong with your phosphor bronze here. So that's good. I will say that if this were my knife, I would probably do a little bit of polishing on these washers here, just to remove, smooth things out a little tiny bit. Pardon me. You always run the risk when you do that of accidentally taking a little too much material and introducing some play. That's not good. And so I would never do it on a loaner knife. Well, I would only do it if there was like a burr or some big problem there. But, it is something you can always keep in mind in a knife like this. We see here as well that the knife construction is really straightforward. You've got 2 titanium liners. They've been coated in some process or another here, and they've just sanded it away on this part. But anyways, there's not that much to it. It's got an internal stop pin, which is fine. No real issue there. It's got a pivot. It's a freaking knife. These get a little repetitive sooner or later, and I'm throwing booze everywhere. Yep. Finish this assembly and then go do something else. Cleaning this little track out here. That's life. Alrighty. Is there anything else interesting to say here? No, not really. So what I'm going to do on this little guy here is I'm going to use a thicker oil than I might normally do because it's got this washer-based action. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little oil here. And I'm using the 85 weight nano oil at the moment. I often mention that, nano oil is a solid choice for knives. I haven't found anything better, but at the same time, and actually I don't need nearly as much of that on that side. Anyways, but at the same time, I also usually mention that there are lots of other good choices. One of the reasons that I like the nano oil, though, is that you actually get the 3 different weights. you can get a 85 weight, a 5 weight, and a 10 weight. The 10 weight is really your best choice for most knives, and it's the one I'd recommend you buy in general if you're just doing one. But the thing is, the 85 can be very helpful in knives like this where you might otherwise consider running on grease. Is this going to need... No, I don't think it had any lock stick, and it's got an insert, so I think we're okay. But still. But the 85 weight is really nice because it gives you a slightly smoother action. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit on the inside of the pivot here. There we go. And make sure that washer gets seated again, and there goes my pivot. Hashtag not a brilliant man, but that's okay. Let's go on ahead and slide that bad boy right back on down there. Slide this bad boy right back on down there. I don't know why they're bad boys. Maybe they're bad girls. Who knows? Slide this onto here. Make sure the oil is well distributed. Put a little dab on the tent ball there. Let that distribute itself. Then drop the top scale back on. One thing that's going to be of interest to you is note that the pivot is D-shaped over here, which means you need to have it aligned in the D shape over here. Not a huge deal, but if it's something you miss, you're going to have yourself a very bad time. You're not going to be able to get your pivot in there right. So there you go. Let's go ahead and use a little bit of blue Loctite on this guy. One thing I'll note is that Kizer has historically used pretty soft screws with heavy thread locker. This guy is not soft or thread locked, which I appreciate very much. These screws seem A-okay. I'd like to believe that they have seen the light and improved things, but, you know, it is something to keep in mind. If you've got a Kizer, particularly one of an older vintage, and it's fighting you in any way, shape, or form to turn the screw, stop. Use some heat. Collaborate. Listen. That sort of an affair. Do I need another? No, it's all T8. That's nice. I should keep that in mind for the review. So if I don't say during the review that everything, all the screws here are T8 and that's a beautiful thing, well, you should pretend I said that during the review. Because all the screws here are T8. And that consistency is a beautiful thing. So there we go. Alrighty. Come on, you little bugger. Get in there. Beautiful. Tighten down. And one last screw. With Loctite, I am about to set a speed record here because this is a really straightforward knife to take apart, and it wasn't that dirty to start with. So, yeah, nice. Beautiful thing. Let's make sure the centering is okay. That's way too tight as it is, but the centering is pretty good to go. Let's back it off slightly. This is never going to be a super, drop-shotty action. But that's okay. It doesn't need to be. Interesting. No, it was just the lockup wasn't quite high enough. Yeah, let's... Ah, there we go. Beautiful. Nice lockup. Let's close it up. Centering. Good to freaking go. Maybe slightly off. Okay, no blade play. Let's back the pivot off slightly more. There we go. That's nice and smooth. What I am going to go ahead and do, though, is back off these scale screws for just a moment. Release any tension in there. Hopefully that'll get the pivot, the centering that is, back more in a reasonable place. I'm applying a little pressure with my thumb in the direction I want the blade to end up going. As I'm tightening these down, might help. Yeah, actually, that helped. I was kind of hoping I could get rid of... There is just a tiny hint of vertical blade play on this knife. I was hoping I would get rid of that entirely, but it doesn't appear to have been the case. Maybe with some more use, be a little better off, but... Yeah, I'm going to tighten the pivot a little more. Yep, there we go. Centering's good. Yeah, we're all set here. So, 9 minutes, 48 seconds. Not so bad. Hope this has been interesting to you, that you didn't go rogue in your disassembly and mess it up somehow. But mostly, I hope that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.